In a shocking turn of events on last night's episode of The Late Show, what started as typical late-night banter quickly spiraled into the TV confrontation of the year when host Stephen Colbert and tech billionaire Elon Musk went head-to-head in an explosive argument that left viewers stunned and social media ablaze. The studio lights seemed extra bright that evening as The Late Show with Stephen Colbert prepared for what was supposed to be just another celebrity interview. The audience buzzed with excitement, phones ready to capture moments with the famous tech billionaire. Nobody expected the night would end with security escorting a furious Elon Musk off the set. "Welcome back to The Late Show," Colbert said with his signature smile after the commercial break. "My guest tonight needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. He's the man who wants to put people on Mars, chips in brains, and robots. In your home. Please welcome Elon Musk." The audience applauded as Musk walked onto the stage with his usual awkward gait. He smiled, waved to the crowd, and settled into the guest chair. For the first few minutes, everything seemed normal. They chatted about space exploration and the latest Tesla models. Colbert even complimented Musk on his recent satellite launch. "So these satellites will provide internet to remote areas?" Colbert asked. "Yes, that's the goal," Musk replied. "We want to connect the entire world, especially places traditional internet can't reach." Colbert nodded, and then his expression changed slightly. Those familiar with his show recognized the look, the moment when the host switches from friendly banter to pointed commentary. "Speaking of things that can't be reached," Colbert said, leaning forward, "like your promise of a fully self-driving Tesla by 2020? The audience let out a collective, "Ooh." Musk's smile faltered slightly. "Well, we've made significant progress," Musk started, but Colbert cut him off. "Progress is great, but isn't that like saying you've made progress toward building a bridge when you've only finished half of it? People still can't cross the river, right?" Colbert's delivery was wrapped in humor, but the barb was unmistakable. Musk chuckled uncomfortably. "These things are more complicated than rocket science?" "Because you seem to have figured that out," Colbert interrupted again. The audience laughed, but the tension was building. Musk's fingers tapped nervously on the armrest. "Let's talk about those brain chips," Colbert continued, not giving Musk a chance to respond fully. "Neuralink, right? You're putting computers in people's brains. What could possibly go wrong there? I mean, my laptop crashes 3 times a day. But sure, let's put that technology in our heads." The audience roared with laughter, but Musk's face was growing noticeably redder. He tried to explain the safety protocols and potential benefits for people with neurological conditions, but Colbert was on a roll. "And what about those robot taxis? Weren't they supposed to make you money while you sleep by now? My viewers are still waking up to drive to work themselves like cavemen." Colbert mimed driving with exaggerated frustration. "Market situations changed. Regulatory approvals," Musk began. "Speaking of market situations," Colbert interrupted, pulling out a card to show the audience. It displayed a downward trending graph of Tesla stock. "Your investors haven't been sleeping well either, from the looks of this. Tesla stock down 30% this year? That's like a roller coaster, except people usually enjoy roller coasters," the audience gasped and then laughed nervously. This was crossing the line from playful ribbing to something more personal. Musk's expression darkened visibly. "Those numbers don't reflect the innovation or long-term value we're creating," Musk said firmly, his voice losing its earlier casual tone. "Long-term value, sure," Colbert nodded. "Like the Cybertruck? How many years late is that now? I've seen milk cartons with missing children who've been found faster than that truck has made it to customers." That hit a nerve. Musk's jaw tightened, and he sat up straighter in his chair. "We've actually delivered thousands of Cybertrucks already," he replied coldly. "And unlike traditional talk show hosts, we're actually trying to solve real-world problems, not just make jokes about them." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Colbert raised his eyebrows, surprised by the direct comeback. Whoa, sounds like I struck a nerve there. I'm just saying, if I promised my audience a joke and delivered it 3 years late, I'd be unemployed, Colbert quipped, maintaining his comedic tone despite the growing tension. There's a difference between telling jokes and building revolutionary technology, Musk shot back. Is there? Because some of your promises have been pretty funny, Colbert replied without missing a beat. Remember when you said you'd fix Flint's water crisis? Or build those mini-submarines to rescue those Thai soccer kids? The audience fell uncomfortably quiet. This wasn't the usual late-night banter anymore. We've made significant contributions to Flint, Musk said through gritted teeth. And the submarine was built and delivered in case it was needed. Right, Colbert said, pretending to check notes. Just like those ventilators you promised during COVID. Very delivered. Much helpful. Musk's face was now flushed with anger. The playful interview had transformed into something that felt more like an ambush. The camera caught a producer making cutting motions off stage, suggesting they should go to commercial. But Colbert wasn't finished. But hey, at least Twitter's doing great under your leadership, Colbert said sarcastically. Nothing says successful. Platform like losing half its value and most of its advertisers. Something snapped in Musk's expression. He leaned forward, pointing a finger at Colbert. You think this is funny? You sit here in your comfortable studio making jokes while we're trying to push humanity forward. What exactly have you contributed? To society besides cheap laughs? The audience gasped. The confrontation had escalated beyond entertainment into something raw and uncomfortable. Colbert's smile remained, but his eyes narrowed slightly. Well, I haven't tanked any 100-year-old car companies or turned any social media platforms into dumpster fires, so I've got that going for me, he replied smoothly. Musk stood up abruptly, his chair screeching against the floor. This is exactly what's wrong with mainstream media, he said loudly, reaching for his microphone. You invite people on just to mock them for ratings. With trembling hands, Musk ripped off his microphone and tossed it onto the chair. I'm not going to sit here and be insulted by someone who doesn't understand the complexity of what we're trying to achieve. The audience was completely silent now, watching in shock as one of the world's richest men prepared to storm off a major network talk show. Colbert seemed momentarily taken aback by the extreme reaction. Come on, Elon. It's just a bit of fun. Can't the man who wants to nuke Mars take a joke? Colbert attempted to defuse the situation, but his choice of words only made things worse. I never said I wanted to nuke Mars, Musk exploded. That's the kind of oversimplification that makes for good television, Colbert interjected with a wink to the audience. Musk's face contorted with rage. I can't do this, he declared, moving toward the exit. This interview is over. As Musk headed for the stage exit, Colbert called after him. Don't forget to use the self-driving feature. On your way home. Oh, wait. The audience collectively held their breath. Musk froze mid-step, his back to the camera. The tension in the studio was palpable as everyone waited to see what would happen next. Slowly, Musk turned around. His face had transformed, from anger to something colder, more calculated. The billionaire's eyes narrowed as he stared at Colbert. You know what, Stephen? I changed my mind, Musk said, his voice eerily calm. Let's talk about failures. He walked back toward the desk with deliberate steps. The audience murmured nervously. This wasn't in the script. The floor director looked panicked, making frantic signals to the production team. Great, Colbert replied, attempting to regain control of the situation. I've got a whole list of your rocket explosions queued up on the monitor. I was thinking more about failures in journalism and entertainment, Musk replied, returning to his seat but not putting his microphone back. A stagehand rushed over with a new mic, which Musk reluctantly accepted. Like how shows like yours pretend to be about comedy, but are really just pushing agendas. Colbert's smile tightened. The only agenda I'm pushing tonight is entertainment. Speaking of which, how's that Tesla Roadster you launched into space? Still entertaining the aliens? At least my car made it to space, Musk shot back. Your jokes barely make it past your teleprompter. Someone in the audience let out a low, "Ooh." Colbert's face flushed slightly, but he maintained his composure. Folks, we've got a live one tonight, Colbert said to the audience with forced cheerfulness. Usually my guests wait until after the show to tell me how they really feel. Maybe they're afraid of losing opportunities if they speak honestly, Musk replied. I'm in the fortunate position of not needing your approval. The camera cut to Colbert, who was still smiling but whose eyes had lost their usual sparkle. This interview had veered dangerously off course. In the control room, producers were likely panicking, wondering whether to cut to commercial. Well, speaking of not needing approval, Colbert said, doubling down, your shareholders might disagree. I've got the latest numbers right here. He held up another card showing Tesla's stock performance. Looks like Wall Street isn't buying what you're selling these days. The audience gasped. This was hitting below the belt, even for late-night TV. Stock prices fluctuate based on market manipulation and short-seller attacks, Musk replied icily. But I wouldn't expect you to understand market dynamics. You just read what's on the cards your writers hand you. Ouch! Colbert pressed a hand to his chest in mock pain. And here I thought we were having a friendly conversation about your many, many unfulfilled promises. Let's talk about promises, Musk leaned forward. Didn't you promise viewers intelligent comedy? How's that working out? The studio fell silent. Even Colbert seemed momentarily stunned by the direct attack on his professional abilities. The band leader nervously played a few notes, trying to break the tension, but quickly stopped when both men glared in his direction. Well, Colbert finally said, adjusting his tie, at least my comedy doesn't lose billions in market value when I make a bad joke. No, it just loses viewers, Musk retorted. Aren't your ratings down this year? A producer stepped partly onto the stage, clearly trying to signal that they needed to wrap up or go to commercial. Colbert ignored them. We're doing just fine. In the ratings, thank you, Colbert said defensively. And at least when I make a promise about what time the show will air, we deliver. Unlike some electric vehicles I could mention. You know what's interesting, Stephen? Musk said, his voice dangerously quiet. You mock the work of thousands of engineers and scientists who are trying to solve climate change, improve transportation, and make humanity multiplanetary. What exactly are you contributing besides smugness? The audience was completely silent. Now, this had gone beyond entertainment into something deeply uncomfortable. I'd say laughter is a pretty good contribution, Colbert replied, his voice slightly less confident. Though I'll admit, this particular interview might not be my finest moment. Or mine, Musk conceded, surprising everyone with the momentary admission. But the difference is, tomorrow I'll go back to building rockets and electric cars, while you'll be here making the same tired jokes about politicians. Colbert's expression hardened. At least I deliver what I promise. A comedy show. Not self-driving cars that still can't self-drive or solar roofs that few can afford. You want to talk about deliveries? Musk's voice rose. Tesla delivered over 2 million vehicles last year despite global supply chain issues. We've revolutionized the auto industry and forced every major manufacturer to develop electric vehicles. What revolutionary change have you created? Making people chuckle before they fall asleep? The audience's heads swiveled between the two men as if watching a tennis match. The confrontation had moved beyond humor into a genuine philosophical disagreement about value and contribution to society. Creating joy matters, Colbert insisted. Not everything has to be about colonizing Mars or replacing humans with robots. I've never talked about replacing humans, Musk said through gritted teeth. That's the kind of misrepresentation I'm talking about. We're augmenting human capabilities, creating sustainable energy, And yes, making life multiplanetary as insurance against extinction. But sure, make another joke about how my truck is late. Well, it is very late, Colbert couldn't resist adding. Musk closed his eyes briefly, as if summoning patience from some internal reserve. When he opened them, his decision was clearly made. "This interview is a waste of time," he said flatly. "You're not interested in understanding what we're building, or why. You just want sound bites and cheap laughs." He stood up again, more deliberately this time. The audience watched in stunned silence as he removed his microphone again and placed it carefully on the desk. "For the record," Musk said, looking directly into the camera rather than at Colbert, "Tesla stock fluctuations are temporary. Our mission isn't. We're building a sustainable energy future whether people make jokes about it or not." Colbert seemed to realize the interview had genuinely gone off the rails. "Elon, come on, it's all in good fun." "Is it?" Musk interrupted. "Making fun of the work thousands of people put their hearts into? Mocking efforts to solve existential problems?" "It's a comedy show," Colbert said, spreading his hands. "We make fun of everything. It's not personal. It feels pretty personal when you're exclusively focusing on projects that had delays rather than the hundreds that succeeded," Musk replied. "Did you mention that SpaceX has revolutionized access to space and cut launch costs by 90%? Or that Tesla accelerated sustainable transportation by a decade?" Colbert glanced at his notes. "I was getting to that in, let me see, never." That did it. Musk turned on his heel and strode toward the exit. "Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk is leaving the building," Colbert announced with forced levity. "Apparently rocket scientists can't take a joke." The audience's reaction was mixed. Scattered nervous laughter mingled with uncomfortable silence. This wasn't the light-hearted entertainment they had expected. Musk paused at the edge of the stage. For a moment it seemed like he might actually leave. Then he turned around once more. "You know what? No!" His voice rang out across the studio. "I'm not going to storm off like this is some reality TV show." Colbert looked genuinely surprised as Musk walked back toward him. The host's expression wavered between confusion and concern. This was uncharted territory for the Late Show. "The problem," Musk continued, now standing directly in front of Colbert's desk rather than sitting, "is that shows like yours reduce complex issues to punchlines. You take years of work, thousands of people's efforts, and distill it down to, 'Ha, the car is late.'" The studio was completely silent. Even the cameramen stood frozen, unsure whether to follow their usual cues or capture this unexpected confrontation. "That's kind of my job," Colbert replied, attempting to maintain his composure. "Finding the humor in complicated situations." "There's a difference between humor and mockery," Musk said. "One builds bridges, the other burns them." Colbert leaned back in his chair, studying Musk with newfound curiosity. The dynamic had shifted. This wasn't host and guest anymore. It was two public figures having a genuine disagreement. "Maybe you're right," Colbert said, surprising everyone with the admission. "But when someone promises cities on Mars and brain chips that cure diseases, they're setting themselves up for scrutiny." "Scrutiny is fair," Musk nodded. "Ridicule isn't. Do you ridicule the medical researchers whose cancer treatments fail in clinical trials? Or climate scientists whose models need adjustment?" For once, Colbert seemed at a loss for words. The audience watched as the normally quick-witted host considered his response carefully. "No," he finally admitted. "But they don't usually make their promises on Twitter at 3 a.m. A ripple of laughter broke the tension. Even Musk's lips twitched slightly. "Fair point," the billionaire conceded. "My communication style has room for improvement." Sensing an opening, Colbert gestured toward the guest chair. "Why don't you sit back down? Let's try this again." Musk hesitated, then slowly returned to his seat. A stagehand rushed over with yet another microphone, which he carefully attached to Musk's shirt. So, Colbert said, his tone noticeably more genuine, why don't you tell us what you're actually proud of? Not the promises or the deadlines, but the achievements that don't make headlines. Musk took a deep breath. The anger seemed to drain from his face, replaced by something more thoughtful. Most people don't realize that when we started Tesla, major auto executives said electric vehicles were impossible, that batteries would never have enough range, that cars would be too expensive, too slow. Every single one of those objections has been proven wrong. Colbert nodded, allowing him to continue. SpaceX was even worse. We were told repeatedly that a private company couldn't build orbital rockets. Now we launch more payload to orbit than every country in the world combined. We've cut the cost of access to space by 90%. That actually is impressive, Colbert admitted, though I notice the roadster you promised me still hasn't arrived. A genuine laugh escaped from Musk. It's coming, eventually. The audience relaxed visibly as the tension dissipated. This was unexpected, a heated argument transforming into something resembling an actual conversation. Look, Musk said, leaning forward, I understand that missed deadlines and overly optimistic projections are fair game for comedy, but reducing everything to failure or success misses the point of innovation. Which is, Colbert prompted, that progress isn't linear. The Wright brothers crashed a lot of planes before they flew. If social media had existed in 1903, people would have been posting memes about their failures too. The audience murmured approvingly. Even Colbert seemed impressed by the analogy. So what you're saying is I should wait 100 years before making fun of the Cybertruck, he quipped. Musk actually smiled. It won't take that long. But maybe judge the vehicle when it exists rather than mocking it for being late? Colbert shrugged good-naturedly. Where's the fun in that? My writers would be unemployed. The audience laughed, but this time it wasn't at anyone's expense. It was recognition of the truce being formed on stage. Here's the thing, Colbert said, his tone shifting to something more serious. Part of my job is calling out powerful people when they make big promises. Not because I want them to fail, but because accountability matters. I can respect that, Musk nodded. I just wish the criticism came with recognition that doing difficult things means accepting the risk of failure. Fair enough, Colbert conceded. So how about this? I promise to acknowledge the successful landings alongside the explosions, if you promise to stop announcing production dates you know are impossible. Musk laughed. I can try. Optimism is a hard habit to break. Ladies and gentlemen, Colbert announced to the audience, we may have just witnessed a Christmas miracle in May, a billionaire and a talk show host finding common ground. The tension that had filled the studio just minutes earlier had transformed into something unexpected. Mutual respect. The audience applauded, sensing they had witnessed something rare in modern media. An argument that ended in understanding, rather than entrenchment. Before we wrap up, Colbert said, any final words for our viewers? Perhaps about when we can expect those robot taxis? He couldn't resist one last gentle jab. Musk smiled. Sooner than the critics think, later than me, I hope. But they're coming, and they'll change everything. Well, there you have it, folks, Colbert said, turning to the camera. Elon Musk, either a visionary genius or the world's most optimistic schedule maker, possibly both. As the audience applauded, Colbert reached across to shake Musk's hand. The billionaire accepted the gesture, the earlier hostility apparently forgotten. Come back any time, Colbert said as they shook hands, especially if you bring me that roadster. Deal, Musk replied, but I'm bringing flame-resistant clothing next time. The show cut to commercial, but clips of the confrontation were already circulating online. Within hours, Colbert-Musk showdown was trending worldwide. News channels played the most heated exchanges on repeat, while social media erupted with team hashtags, Team Colbert and Team Musk. By morning, the unexpected clash had become the most viewed late show segment in history. Commentary channels dissected every word, facial expression, and gesture. Body language experts analyzed the moment Musk had almost walked off stage. Marketing specialists debated whether the confrontation would help or hurt Tesla's brand. But unlike most viral moments of conflict, this one had something rare: a resolution. The final minutes, where hostility transformed into grudging respect, became the subject of articles analyzing how public disagreements could potentially be resolved. For viewers of the Late Night Showdown commentary channel, the incident provided weeks of content. Was it staged? A genuine clash of egos? A perfect demonstration of the tension between traditional media and tech visionaries? Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. In the attention economy of 2025, nothing was more valuable than an authentic moment between two cultural icons, especially one that began with fireworks and ended with understanding. The clash would be referenced for years to come, a rare example of how confrontation could lead to conversation rather than cancellation, proving that sometimes the most compelling television happens when the script is thrown away and real human interaction takes its place.